I'm ready. Let's rock and roll, man. Oh, man, how do you get a Twitch shirt? Must be nice. Must know Ben.
He must be connected somehow.
Yeah, must know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah.
Jacob Wilson on your right, Charles Gordon on your left. You got Extra Stoneblade, you got Blue White Red Delver. And Blue White Red Delver, apparently it's, the new hotness now.
Yes.
Rogue Delver is still good, but I don't know if it's great anymore because Blue White Red Delver looks like it has a great matchup against the deck.
Yeah.
And if Owen Turtenwald to win in Washington, D.C., is just an example of what's going to happen moving forward. I think we're going to see a lot of this deck. And again, the thing that you mentioned a little bit earlier in a broadcast is just how big of an upgrade True Name Nemesis is over Geist of St. Traft. Not to say that Geist of St. Traft isn't a great card, because it is, but it ain't no True Name Nemesis.
Yeah. Geist of St. Traft is not very good against cards like Tarmogoyf, whereas True Name Nemesis is excellent against cards like Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
You give up a little bit of your speed against decks that can't interact with either card, but so many decks in modern Legacy are these kind of tempo creature decks where True Name Nemesis really shines and Geist of St. Traft is often mediocre.
You see Jacob taking a look here.
And the two main deck copies of Supreme Barracuda are a huge breaker for Charles in this matchup.
He's got triple Delver, Bolt, a Tundra, and a Wasteland. I think double Wasteland, yeah. So he doesn't have red mana. It's kind of a weird hand, actually, but he's going to keep it as a Thoughtseize. All right, what were you thinking about?
Yep. Time to find out.
Yeah. So now you see the grip. Delver, Bolt, Wasteland, Tundra.
This is actually a hand where I'm sure Jake is actually pretty happy to get Thoughtseized. The difference between 3 Delvers and 2 Delvers isn't significant. The Lightning Bolt doesn't mean very much, so I think Jacob is happy to trade a card out of Charles's hand for any one of these cards.
So here's what I find to be very interesting. Turn 1, do you Wasteland or do you Delver?
I think that you want a Delver first because the upside of next turn Wastelanding and then playing another Delver is really big.
What's the draw? Forcible. That's actually a huge draw. Jeez.
It would be one thing maybe if Charles led off with a Tundra where you would be worried about getting plowed, but there's enough of a reasonable chance that this Delver gets to the next turn, and then the upside of Wastelanding and adding another Delver is so big that I would advance my board first.
And if Gordon's plan was to maybe slam down a Stoneforge Mystic, that's not going to happen now. So Delver is checking. It draws an Arid Mesa. So now the red source of mana is here. Delver comes across for 1, so Gordon's going to go down to 17. 2 from that Thoughtseize, 1 from the Delver. Follow-up Delver. I think we're probably going to see Wasteland here. Yes, pass the turn. Maybe upkeep, blow it up.
Upkeep seems reasonable.
Here's an end of turn Brainstorm. That's going to resolve 2 and 3. Engineer Explosives among those cards, jeez.
Yeah.
But Forcible is at the ready here for Wilson, but he's going to have to basically use, that's it for him in his hand.
Yeah.
It'll be Forcible removing Delver. He's got another Wasteland there and the Arid Mesa.
And Jacob's already, the Forcibles are pretty taxed already fighting over cards like Stoneforge Mystic and Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Mm-hmm.
Having 1-mana spells that basically force a Force of Will as well is just really powerful for Charles in this matchup.
So Charles is going to go take a draw step now, and he actually is happy with drawing those cards instead of sacrificing the March Flats. So now he's going to play a Flooded Strand. And one thing that's interesting now, the dynamic between these two guys who have already played, and they played a pretty long match that Charles ended up winning, is now they have access to each other's deck list. Yeah. It's actually a pretty big deal because even though they probably played a long marathon match, excuse me, the fact that he doesn't know, or each player knows now what they have to worry about, it might change the way they play.
Yeah.
So fetch lands are going to get sacrificed here. And, this amount of damage that Gordon is dealing to himself may not seem like much, but it does add up when you're facing down 2 Delver Secrets that are ready to flip.
And, Charles is also aware of the Lightning Bolt in Jacob's hand as well. Mm-hmm. So he can't be too lax with his life total.
So basics are what Gordon's going to find. And I wonder if he's going to try to stick an EE here. And the thing is if you're Wilson, you got to counter this, I believe.
Well, it depends what he does. If he plays in explosives for 0, let's say, Jacob could choose to flip only one of his Delvers. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to flip both. So he can hedge a little bit against an Engineer Explosive. Again, Charles doesn't have enough mana to set explosives to 1 and blow it up this turn. So he can, if he casts the explosives this turn, then Jacob can try to split the difference here a little bit by only flipping 1 Delver.
That's really interesting casting for 0 too, because the thing is, Jacob doesn't have to flip them.
Also true.
He can just leave them as 1/1s, which are a touch embarrassing. I think that's true, but and Wilson says that's fine. Now it comes down to the situation that you mentioned of, okay, well, does he want to flip 1 or flip none? He wants to flip 1, reveals a Force of Will, and that's actually a really interesting flip. And he says, no, not revealing that. So yeah, this is what you thought was going to happen. Yeah. Is he going to take the 4 points of damage? Now this is, I think you have to cash in this EE. I'm not sure. Yeah, he's checking that. It's like, no, you don't have to reveal because you can miss the reveal. So
right. I can't imagine Charles wants to sit here with his mana up the entire game. So
yeah. All right, so that Delver goes bye-bye, but Wilson has a replacement Delver, and Gordon knows that he has a replacement Delver. So there's an Arid Mesa. There is the third Delver. Pass. Now, the one thing that Gordon doesn't know is about the other Force of Will in Wilson's hand. Now, he can maybe assume that he has another blue card, but he doesn't know about it yet. Swords of Plowshares the draw here for Gordon. He set up things in such a way that the Wasteland that he knows about in Wilson's hand will not have a huge impact currently. As Wilson's going to look at the top card, sacrifice this so he can get a new look.
And I believe Charles has Supreme Verdict in hand.
He does.
He's trying here to not have to spend the Swords of Plowshares in his hand. Hopes that he can find a 4th land and simply sweep up all these Delvers.
How about this flip? And can I try this flip? Am I allowed to try this flip? I think is that a Vendilion Click hanging out there too? Is just going to see a Source of Plowshares target this Delver. All right, so that goes away. So won't be checking. Just take a draw. Would it have flipped? It would have. It's a Spell Pierce. In for 1. Down to 13.
Charles has to be very happy with the pace of this game right now. He's fending off all the pressure, and Jacob is getting, bottlenecked on some inefficient counterspells here.
Jacob plays the Wasteland that Charles knows about, passes the turn. So as far as what Charles Gordon knows about in Wilson's hand, he knows about a Force of Will. He does not know about the other Force of Will in a Spell Pierce. What Gordon drew this turn, I believe, is a land. So there is a Flooded Strand. So he can slam down the old Supreme Verdict if he wants to trade 1 for 1, but he doesn't want to. So Wilson will take a look at the top card of his deck. It's a Flooded Strand in for 1. His Delvers have actually been relatively poor this game.
Yep.
Plays a Flooded Strand, passes the turn back. I think the reason for playing that land is that he's 1 land away from hardcasting Force of Will.
And also, having a land in play that shuffles is also helpful as well as if he draws Brainstorm or Ponder.
Island's going to come into play for Gordon. And I believe that Gordon does have a Vendilion Click in his grip.
Yeah.
Quick update for you guys. In one of our other matches between Denny Chan and Ian Anderson with Tezzeret Affinity. So if you like the robots, like Alex Mashleton does, they're up a game right now over Esper Stoneblade.
And a turn Vendilion Click here from Charles.
Another update for you guys. I know a lot of the Los Angeles area contingent. John Haverdell currently up a game over Michael Lewis. So Combo Elves was a little bit faster than Omnitel that go around, and he was on the draw. So that's pretty impressive. That means that if he does lose game 2, he gets to rock and roll for game 3. As Vendilion Click resolves here, Force 4 Spell Pierce. Is he going to take any of those cards?
Decides not to. He's got a Jitte in his hand that I'm sure he would have been happy to try to force through, but there's no card he can take out of Jacob's hand that allows the Jitte to get through, so you might as well just let him keep choking on that permission and not add any more pressure to the table.
Gordon's going to start his turn with a freshly drawn Brainstorm. Does have the fetch land in play already and blue to Delta to make it a perfect one.
Jacob debating here. He wants to force this. It seems a little rough from where I'm sitting because the click can simply trade with the Delver. It's not like you get to continue clocking him here.
Yeah. All right, so 3 cards coming. Snapcaster Mage, Stoneforge. Pretty good brainstorm. This is going to allow him to put the Umezawa Shite back if he'd like to, and then research it up. So that's a kind of a shuffling effect for the brainstorm. Lets him keep the Pluto Delta around if he wants. So he's actually got a lot of options here, does Gordon.
Yeah, also keep in mind that there's a source of plowshares in the graveyard, so that Snapcaster is particularly good here.
Other thing, too, now is he's rearranging the cards he wants back. He almost considered putting that Supreme Verdict because he might not even need it now.
Yeah. He's kind of being pulled in 2 directions here. Part of him definitely wants to try to squeeze as much value as possible out of the Supreme Verdict. But now that he knows that Jacob's shields are down to some extent, there's also an incentive for him to just try to go beat downs with Click and Stoneforge, Mystic, and Snapcaster Mage.
All right, so a serious decision to make here if you're Wilson.
And, as much of a staple as Force of Will is, you're seeing some of its liabilities in more honest matchups. Opponents who are just trying to trade 1 for 1 and play good stuff, Force of Will is usually not that powerful against them.
Yeah, and the one thing, too, is I think that, I don't think Wilson wants to Force of Will this, but I think he needs to Force of Will it.
Yeah.
And you see he's going to remove Spell Pierce to it, and the reason for that, I think, is because maybe he's sensing that I need another Force of Will for something. I need to draw another blue card. So Vendilion Click feeling tough.
Jacob is also very close to a 5th land here, which would allow him to hardcast his Force of Will.
So here's something that I think is super interesting. As we're checking for Delver here, if you're Wilson, is there any world in where you wasteland that a Gordon's fetch land?
Probably not.
No?
I mean, the lands are also valuable to Jacob as well because of Force of Will. Also, Charles just has random underground seas and tundras he can draw as well. It's not just about what he can fetch. Some of his natural draws will allow Jacob to cash in that wasteland.
Wilson draws a card and just attacks for 1, and we have no idea what that card is. I don't think it's impossible for that card to be a spell. So Wilson,
Ooh, tricky.
And the reason I think he did that is because I think he has a feeling that the cards that were put back via Brainstorm were actually pretty good because of how long Gordon thought about the play. And the cards that he put back were Stoneforge, Mystic, and Snapcaster Mage, so they were both 2 really good cards. And if he doesn't sacrifice the fetch land on the end of turn or during his turn, I feel like that is something, like some sort of signal or tip-off to say, okay, the cards that you put back are actually legitimate.
Sure. I just think when he has 4 lands in play and Force of Will in hand, that he's paying a huge cost there to cause Charles to shuffle his deck.
So here is a scrub land.
Not to say that play is necessarily incorrect, but there's some compelling reasons for Jacob to want to sit on that land for a little while.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting play. The cards in Gordon's hand before he draws are Umezawa Shite and a Supreme Verdict, 2 cards that Wilson does not know about. Takes a draw step. Oh, Stoneforge Mystic.
There's still a pretty... I still expect Charles is going to go down a different road here.
Yeah, I had a feeling he was going to do that too. Force of Will. The 4th Delver counters the Stoneforge Mystic. Problem for him is he already has Umezawa Shite. He has the equipment.
Although if... now Charles is down to just Supreme Verdict in hand. If Jacob draws Lightning Bolt this turn, he's actually got a reasonable chance. Then it's just the top of his deck against the top of Charles's deck, since Charles will almost certainly have to Supreme Verdict the following turn.
So this is interesting because does he want to attack Saint Probe, does he want to sack? And he says he wants to sack. I wonder what the card is after the probe. Is there any way for us to see?
Nah.
Cantrips the probe, finds the bolt, sees the Supreme Verdict. Be interesting. I think if you're Wilson right now, you're just looking for a Ponder, Brainstorm, or Bolt.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Take a draw. Ding.
3 more fresh looks. 2 ponders and a match land. Yep.
This is some magic right here, baby.
A lot of redraws.
All right, now next question. Which do you ponder with? Because he's got swords in his deck.
Oh, sure.
Yep, Agent Bolt.
Perfect. Well, he's already down 1 bolt and he hasn't seen a plow yet, right? So tapped his mana correctly and is punished for it.
That was man, that's tough. That is so tough. So he's going to keep. He's going to pass. And so now he has to block, which is obviously something he does not want to do.
Right, and then just hope the top of his deck is better than the top of Charles's.
And he drew a counter spell for the turn. What a huge draw by Charles. It's now attacking. Yeah, you have to block. You got to trade here. So now GTA is going to get 2 counters. So that's going to kind of loom over this game now.
Yep.
As Wilson took the ponder and passed the turn back. So he takes a draw, draws Bolt immediately, casts a ponder.
And that counter spell is actually a really big draw for Charles, since one of, Charles has a pretty substantial edge in this game at this point. One of the primary outs that Jacob has at this point is True Name Nemesis, and now that door has been closed.
Yep. So Wilson saw a ponder and 2 lands, one of which was a fetch land, and he thought about keeping it for a little while and just taking the ponder, but he decides, I want a fresh card. And I'm not quite sure what the fresh card is. I think it was a land that he drew. It's a wasteland, which isn't bad, so take care of your black source. So we got some back and forth going on here.
Yep. Charles is, I would say, definitely favored from this spot, but Jacob is not without his draws.
Charles redraws a black source. It is an underground sea, so he has access to black mana. Wilson says, Gordon says, I want to see your graveyard. How many wastelands have you played this game? 3. All right, so it's safe for me to play this. Pass. Wilson takes a draw step. It's a Scalding Tarn to go along with his Lightning Bolt. Passes back. Gordon. He finds, I believe, a Vindicate?
Mm-hmm.
But does he want to cast that right now?
If he vindicates a land, it does open up the door for Jacob to draw True Name Nemesis. As we know, he's sandbagging a land.
He thought about casting and didn't. So now Stoneforge Mystic, which we know is going to buy out that counter spell. So trade resources there. Pass the turn back. See what Gordon draws here. Gordon's draws are definitely better than Wilson's at this point, like you mentioned. Vindicate. It's targeting that volcanic island, so that goes away. Source of Plowshares.
Doors open for True Name Nemesis.
There's GTA. Any reason to deploy?
Just mana efficiency.
I mean, the interesting thing here with the GTA is I'm not sure how much of an effect it has in the game. It might be a card that you want to put back for a Brainstorm.
Yeah, no. There's. I think it's correct to hold it. There's just.
Yikes.
And there's True Name Nemesis.
The fun police is here. And there's a Meddling Mage. He's banging on the table a little bit. You don't really get much emotion out of Jacob Wilson. Pretty much ever. He's a pretty calm, relaxed kid. You can see a little bit of frustration.
We were playing a game there for a little bit, and now we are not.
Yeah, we ran a little bit of back and forth, top of the deck type stuff, but now he's got to cast Meddling Mage. I think the thought process here is maybe it forces you to use your Umazawa GTA on that, so that you can't kill me as quickly, but...
Yeah. Meddling Mage is way less impactful when your opponent doesn't need to cast any more spells for the remainder of the game to win.
Name Snapcaster Mage with the Meddling Mage. Jason Mind Sculptor the draw here for Gordon. And things are going to start to get a little bit hairy here for the blue-white-red player. Deciding exactly what kind of mana he wants to spend and equip, because his mana's a little bit awkward right now. He's got 1 white, so it's a little all over the place. But equip True Name Nemesis and Bash. And, does he want to pump here and make it 7? Does he want to make it 5? Or does he just want to accumulate counters on that GTA? And he's going to pump once, so he's going to make it 5, put Wilson down to 7. He's got counters on there now, and so he can make it a lethal attack next turn.
I also think he wins if he just keeps hitting the +2 life button. So, pretty firm control here.
Yeah.
So he can sit back with his plow here, and his Umazawa Sute with 3 counters on it.
Yeah, real tough guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Protection from, yeah. Wilson attacks briefly with Meddling Mage and packs it in. So Charles Gordon is going to win game number 1 here against Jacob Wilson in their rematch from the last round. So Esper Stoneblade up 1. And we'll bring it back to the booth here because it's trivia time. You want to do the question or I do the question?
You should do it.
You should do it? All right, I'll do it.
Since you're imposing on me now, you didn't ask me ahead of time.
I was just asking now. I didn't know if you
I'm
had
sorry,
prepared.
I'm projected. No, that's fine.
Okay.
It's fine, go ahead.
So what am I going to do?
You should ask the question. I'll get the next one.
You want to do the rules then?
I'll do the rules.
Okay, I'll do the question. Perfect. We're a great team. Go ahead.
So the rules are, Cedric over here is going to ask a question, generally pertaining to one of the matches going on right now or to the tournament in general. You will tweet the answer at SEG Live, and you will hashtag SEG Premium. Among the correct responses, one will be selected at random. The winner will receive 3 free months of Star City Games premium content, in addition to the sweet Twitch.tv t-shirts that we've received from the good people over at Twitch and Ben Schwartz, who is a friend of ours and Twitch employee. So if you're drawn as the winner, make sure to also message your shirt size and your address so we can mail the shirt along to you as well.
Correcto. Good job. I didn't know you had it in you to do the rules. I normally do the rules. That was well done.
Dude, I've been around you a long time.
I was impressed. That was actually quite good.
Yeah.
Within the Esper Stoneblade deck here that Charles Gordon is playing, he's got 3 pieces of equipment. He's got a Batter Skull, he's got an Umazawa Shite, and he has a Sword of Blank and Blank. If you can name the Sword of Blank and Blank that he does have in his deck, hashtag your answer to SCG Premium. Again, we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round, so it's about accuracy, not speed. And, of course, you'll win the 3 months of premium and this beautiful, gorgeous Twitch T-shirt that Ben Schwartz and the awesome people at Twitch gave to us to give away this weekend. So, get after it as we move on to the sideboards here. We'll start with Jacob Wilson. I'll let you take a gander there.
Jacob Wilson has a lot of 7 out of 10s available to him if he wants a sideboard in.
Okay.
He has a copy of Grim Lavamancer, which is okay. His additional copy of True Name Nemesis, which I'm sure he's going to want. He has access to more Metal Images, which again seem okay. He has a Wear Tear to fight over equipment. He has additional Plow and some Pyroblast, which are again okay against the Esper deck with a reasonable portion of blue cards, but none of them being particularly critical to Charles's overall plans. The problem here, of course, from Jacob's side of the table is he is soft to True Name Nemesis, and Charles's deck is structured in such a way that it's really good at resolving it and then quickly equipping it. And there's not a lot of that Jacob can do to change fundamentally that problem he has going into the matchup.
As far as on Charles's side, you see a Grafdigger's Cage, you see Manriki Kusari. We're in a bit of an equipment matchup here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that come in. I'm not sure if that means it's correct, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that come in. 4 copies of Meddling Mage, not great in this matchup when you're playing against a deck that has swords and bolts. A Humility, 2 copies of Rest in Peace, a Flusterstorm, a Path to Exile, Zealous Persecution ×2, which is a really nice tool against both Delver and True Name. A Supreme Verdict number 3 to go along with the 2 in his main deck and the Thoughtseize. You mentioned at the top how Gordon's deck is very hateful towards creatures, and his sideboard is even more hateful.
Yeah, it's funny to say very hateful when we're talking about 2 or 3 unorthodox cards in his main deck, suddenly turning the deck into something that's very hateful. But the Esper Stoneblade list is, there's a lot that's already kind of set in stone about it. And 3 cards in a deck that's playing Brainstorm and Ponder is a huge difference because you see so many different cards in your deck over the course of the average game.
Yeah. Quick update for you guys in another match. We weren't sure who was going to win between Ian Anderson and Denny Chan, as Affinity is not a major player in Legacy. But it's moving on to the top 4 because it defeated Esper Stoneblade in 2 games pretty quickly.
I predicted actually that Affinity would win for the record.
Look at you. We'll roll back the tape. We'll see about that.
Even though I was flipping coins, I'd be 50-50, right? So
yeah.
I'm not saying this makes me some sort of magic genius. I'm just saying, for the record, I predicted that Affinity was going to win that match.
Who'd you think was going to win between Michael Lewis and John Havertl? Omnitel versus Elves.
Thought it was really close that the person on the
Wrong.
play had a big edge.
Wrong. Elves won 2-0 for the record.
Yeah, but it's not like you
Elves won for the record.
It's
You
not like
predicted Omnitel would win for the record.
It's not like you ever stated an opinion. You just sort of sat on the fence, all milquetoast, not offering an opinion. So it's not really a fair criticism. It's not like you were arguing passionately that the Elves deck was favored in the matchup or something.
I don't remember that at all. And I kind of like milk toast.
It's not what you think it means.
Oh, it sounds good.
No, it's not good. Never mind.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Have you ever dipped? Never mind, I'm off it.
It's a different thing. Anyhow.
Okay. Oh, it sounds good. Sounds good. Both players are shuffling up here and ready to go for game number 2. Delver Secret's going to start the show here for Jacob Wilson. Anybody else? Twitter, milk toast? Is that not good? There's a Thoughtseize. Meddling Mage, Brainstorm, Lightning Bolt, Batter Skull, and a Scalding Tarn.
Twitter will not save you on this one, my friend.
They'll probably eat me alive. That's fine. That'll be the second gigantic blunder I've made today, then.
No. That's not as bad as the Las Vegas trivia question.
Okay.
That's in a tier all its own.
Yep. So, As Gordon takes a look at his hand, he's going to take Brainstorm, as he doesn't want Wilson to do any manipulation here or set up his Delvers. So checking, missing, Stone Forge, pretty good draw.
Yeah, and as a good rule of thumb in Legacy, if there's no card in your opponent's hand that seems terribly threatening, it's never wrong to take a Brainstorm.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder which one Wilson wants to do this turn. Wants to slam down Stone Forge, maybe?
Part of the problem with Metal Mage is he has so many overlapping cards here. He
Yeah.
has his own Stoneforge Mystics and his own True Name Nemesis. In any case, these are the cards that Jacob would most likely name in the abstract, but since he himself has them, it's pretty rough.
I'm being told by Topher Marsh right now that milquetoast means spineless, lacking backbone, and not standing up for oneself. Do you have something you'd like to tell me?
No, dude. You just never exert an
Oh,
opinion.
okay. So I'm glad I know what you think of me now.
It's
That's
not
good.
fair. It's not fair to criticize my incorrect opinion when you offered up none of your own.
You called me spineless. Stoneforge Mystic on the stack.
Not spineless in
Resolving.
general, just in this specific instance.
Oh, okay.
Finds Umezawa's Jite.
All right, so pass the turn back. Gordon with a basic swamp. Draws a Manrique Ugasari card. I had a feeling would come in. I expressed my opinion on that one, at least. Flooded Strand going to get sacrificed here. He's got a Stoneforge. He's got two Stoneforges. And a Brainstorm there. Pretty good hand.
Yeah, very good hand. It's gonna, it takes him a little bit more time for him to deploy his action than it takes Jacob. So, as he's trying to fend off Jacob's pressure and develop his own board, he's going to be taking incremental points of damage along the way. So, the big pressure is going to be on efficiency for Charles here. That's the battle he has to try to win.
Also, it is a South African delicacy, apparently. It's condensed milk on toasted white bread. That sounds terrible. Yikes.
Sorry to any Johannesburg viewers out there who might be enjoying some milk toast at their local restaurant or perhaps with their family. As you see Stoneforge Mystic dial up a batter skull. Yikes.
Yeah. Delver? No, he can't flip him at all.
No.
I don't ever see this happen when we cover Delvers.
No, they do seem to flip pretty reliably, especially in Legacy where you see all these decks that are 30 spells roughly.
Yeah, I mean, Augur Bolus always missed, even though they had a million spells, but Delver never misses. He's having some trouble now, but Stoneforge Mystic gets taken care of by Lightning Bolt. In for one goes Wilson, and he's got Stoneforge at the ready to put Batter Skull in play,
Yeah.
so he's off to a good start this game. Now, the question was kind of like, why did he bring in Meddling Mage in this matchup? I actually think part of the reason he brought it in was just to name Supreme Verdict. I think that might be like the actual reason he brought it in. And now Vendilion Click is going to be cast in response to the Stoneforge Mystic activation. So that means the equipment doesn't come in right away. He can take Batter Skull. Jite can still come in. And he gets to draw a card here, does Wilson. Jite does come in. Meddling Mage to the grip, ponder the grip. He's going to untap. He's going to check for Delver. Aha! He did it.
There it is. And Charles, to me, feels like he's playing this game in such a way that I feel like he has to have Supreme Verdict, or he's definitely playing towards it.
Yeah, he doesn't have it in his hand right now, though. And so now Wilson's going to start off his turn. Is it going to be Ponder or Brainstorm? It is a Ponder.
Looking at Lightning Bolt, Tundra, and possibly a Fetch Land is the middle card.
I think so. Yeah, it looks like a Scalding Tarn.
We saw a little bit of this in the first game, even though Charles won. Charles was doing a lot of powerful stuff, certainly more powerful than Jacob, but Jacob's just much faster to the ground. Jacob's often casting multiple spells in turn against Charles just casting the one, and so Jacob is really leveraging his advantage in efficiency so far in this game.
He could have easily taken Lightning Bolt there to take care of that Vendilion Click. He chose not to, so what he's going to do, he's going to equip his Stoneforge Mystic. I don't think he's going to be willing to trade off his Delver Secrets for anything here.
Yeah, I do like this attack from Jacob. The Insight Dial Aberration is a little too powerful and important to be willing to trade with the click here when you're basically going to get it to kill it for free. So I would be happy to trade the Stoneforge here.
Agreed. So that's what's going to happen. Jake gets two counters. Wasteland was the card that was drawn off Ponder, and that's a real dagger because it takes care of the white source. And Gordon needs 2 of those to be able to cast Supreme Verdict. Even though he doesn't have it yet, it's still quite good.
It's also possible that Jacob needs to be bringing in meddling mages just to have sufficient creatures because Charles has so much spot removal and sweepers that it's really hard to reliably win the game when he's playing with, 12 creatures or 10 creatures or whatever.
I think Gordon has 3 basics in his deck. Quite a bit, actually.
I don't see the swamp very often.
Neither do I.
See some islands and some plains.
Yeah.
Don't see the swamp that often.
So he does have Stoneforge Mystic in his hand, but it's not going to have a huge impact, it feels like, just because that GT is there. With the 2 counters take care of that, equip it over to the Insect Calibration and get busy. But there is the Stoneforge. Going to get it on the table, see what he's going to search for. He pulls the GT to the front on his end first. Now a Sword of Fire and Ice. He has Manriki Gusari in his hand already, and Batterskull. So he's going to be playing a game where he has 3 equipment in his hand. And so he's going to get Sword of Fire and Ice.
Manriki Gusari, a former Champions Block Constructed superstar, now.
So good. So good.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, a little accident there.
No big deal.
Yeah, same amount of cards, all that stuff. Very obvious thing to fix, and obviously unintentional there by Gordon. The real superstar in that format.
Kisling Given?
Opal Eye, actually, was what we were going to go with. Opal Eye in the White Weenie Mirror. That was a heck of a card. I don't even remember. First of all, I don't remember what's after Opal Eye, the comma. I know it's a 1/4. I really don't know what else it did. I just know it was, like, unbeatable in the mirror.
See Jacob here brainstorming.
3 cards coming. Pyroblast, True Name, and I think a Cantrip on the back end.
Is that a Daze?
Daze. So he puts Stoneforge on top. See how he wants to resolve this. Doesn't have a fetch land. Doesn't have any land, actually. So he's stuck with these next 5 cards for a couple turns. So resolves Brainstorm. In the sky. And now it's going to be really telling, I think, with what he names here off Meddling Mage. What his plan is.
With him this ahead in the game and with the Jete in play, I had to assume this is going on Supreme Verdict.
Okay. We'll get confirmation as there goes the Mystic.
Source of Pleasure.
All right.
Fair enough.
Whew, this is a juicy Daze target, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the reason potentially the whole Daze here is because of Jace. If he untaps into Jace, it's awesome to have Daze there, but there's a really juicy brainstorm to get to tag, so.
Marsh Flats. There's a Flooded Strand, but no Verdict here for Gordon, and he has 3 after sideboard, so I think he's probably going to deploy some of this equipment. But he's really got to get moving here because he's basically on a 2-turn clock. 5 from the next attack, and then GT. Assuming he equips GT, and then then he can pump and finish him off that way. So Wilson quickly untaps. He draws a card, and he's moving now. Just figuring out what he wants to equip to. And he keeps the red mana open, and comes in here with this. The thought process is, I guess, just don't want you to actually be able to tag my Meddling Mage that's naming something of relevance.
Yeah.
Doesn't deploy True Name Nemesis either. Stoneforge Mystic the draw here.
Also, if he plays Batterskull this turn, if the Jete is on Meddling Mage, then he has to move it to the Insect Calibration, so it's a little more efficient there.
So Gordon's facing down lethal attack. He draws Stoneforge Mystic. He has a couple of pieces of equipment and Batterskull and Sword of Fire and Ice in his hand, but what he does not have right now is the Supreme Verdict. He's considering sacrificing the Flooded Strand, moving down to 5, but he's just going to pick up that and the rest of his permanents. So Jacob Wilson's going to win game number 2 here with Blue at Red Delver over Charles Gordon playing Esper Stoneblade. Gordon going to be on the play for game number 3. And I'm going to take a look. I'm actually just going to watch both players here and see if they go back to their sideboards at all, as Wilson is going to. And I want to see if any cards shift in and out.
I mean, you traditionally see, a lot of players, when they're not Dazes in their deck, a lot of that is whether or not they're on the play or on their draw. Daze is so much more powerful on the play that's an easy swap that gets made. You see Jacob is actually just shuffling his whole 75 together. Part of this is information, and part of this, I believe, like we were discussing during the sideboarding, is he has a lot of cards in the sideboard that are above average, but not spectacular. So
Yep.
his exact configuration that he wants here is a little complicated.
And you see the sideboards on the screen again for you guys at home. We have them in front of us here because we have the deck list, but I mean, there's a lot of ones, a lot of twos. You know, you see the 4 melee mages on Gordon's side, which aren't going to play a huge role in this matchup. The 3 melee mages on Wilson's side. We know he's sideboarded in some number of them. We're not sure how many, of course. And we know he's sideboarded in some number of Pyroblasts as well.
Hmm.
But the configurations after sideboard, I'm kind of with you in which it's pretty easy to board out days. I think that's certainly a step. Um,
Yeah,
and it's much better on the play than the draw. So
right. And actually, how much removal does he want in his deck also is a big question, too. He's got 4 bolts and 2 plows main, and it's reasonable to want a little bit of that, but probably not all 6 of those slots. So, again, just a lot of different ways for him to structure his deck in the post-board games.
yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. So now we saw Gordon. He actually shuffled, he piled, and now he's going back a little bit to maybe he thought of something, changing something. Wilson really taking his time on sideboarding here as he shuffled in all 15. You know, we don't know if jockeying for position or anything like that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the daisies come out here.
That said, Charles definitely has a lot of, 3 and 4 mana spells, even on the draw. Daze has got a reasonable shot at tagging things.
Quick update as well. Stephen Bush, 7th seed, defeats Bradley Yu 2-0. Death and Taxes moving on. So far, we've got Death and Taxes facing against Combo Elves. On the other side, you got John Haverdull is your 6th seed. Stephen Bush is your 7th. So that's one side of the bracket. That means Haverdull's going to have the option to play or draw. On the other side, you got Ian Anderson, the 5 seed, playing Tezzeret Affinity, waiting for the winner of this match. So coming into this tournament, had you told me that we were going to have a Death and Taxes, a Tezzeret Affinity, and a Combo Elves in the top 4? No.
I mean, with the exception of the Tezzeret Affinity deck, which is definitely off the radar, the other 2 decks are certainly, they are somewhat fixtures. I mean, Death and Taxes is certainly a lot more popular in Europe than it is in the United States, but it still puts up its reasonable share of performances out here as well. And Combo Elves, we had John on camera, you were on break, and I was talking with Glenn about it. It feels like that's the deck with a mixture of rules changes, individual cards that's been released, and then just the list getting more refined over time. That's the archetype that's improved the most in the last 1.5 to 2 years in Legacy.
Yeah.
The Deathrite Shaman and a couple other smaller cards improve the deck. The rules change helps guys cradle quite a bit, and then I think the lists have just become more refined.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people moving away from Regal Force, moving towards Crater of Behemoth. There was that point in time I remember where people were like, I play an Emrakul, I play a Mirror Entity. It's like, all that stuff is gone now.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, just hoof them, get them dead.
The main Jack Progenitus is gone in a lot of cases. The deck is way more streamlined than it used to be, and Crater of Behemoth is just as good as Emrakul in people in most cases.
All right, players looking at the opening 7 here. This is our, last match here of the quarterfinals. So after this one's over, we'll bring it back to the booth and announce our winners of that premium giveaway. So stay tuned for that and what's likely to be an exciting game 3.
And Charles,
He's gonna take a mulligan here.
this is my first time also watching Charles play, but he has been really impressive so far with his technical play. He's been very sharp with this deck. He's not played at a particularly slow pace. He strikes me as a pretty experienced Esper Stoneblade player. And of course, Jacob at this point has quite a bit of Legacy experience under his belt.
Yeah, he's building a resume. He is building a resume, this kid.
And it's crazy too, I play a fair bit of Legacy, or I used to when I was playing a lot more tournaments over the last year or two. And the card pool is so big, sometimes even I've lost track of things that have been legal or cards that my opponent could have played. And I started playing Magic during Revised. It's especially impressive for me watching Jacob Wilson because he's had to learn a lot of these cards on the fly. They're not things that he's grown up with or played with his whole life. He's kind of had to study the format, not organically, but just through brute forcing the information. So his resume is, as impressive as it is even more impressive to me than it would be in the hands of an older player.
Polluted Delta going to start things off. Here's a Gataxian Probe, so we're going to see exactly what Gordon is up to. He's got a Manriki Kusari, a Meddling Mage, True Name Nemesis, and 2 fetch lands to go in the Polluted Delta that is already in play. So Wilson has the information. He knows what he needs to worry about, and he can proceed forward accordingly.
Do you think there's any possibility with the amount of creatures that Charles has in his deck that he's actually removed the Supreme Verdicts? I mean, he went into his sideboard and got the Meddling Mages. Those are not in his main deck.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I'm not sure if it's correct or not. I really have no idea. It depends what kind of game plan he's trying to craft. But it seems like, that when we're watching these first 2 games, it seems like Supreme Verdict would be the card that would really win in both games.
Yeah.
So I'd be a little surprised by it.
I'm not saying that if it's kept in his deck, I wouldn't be, that surprised. It just feels like he's put in a lot of creatures into his deck.
Wilson with just a Tundra passes it back. So here's that Flooded Strand. You see Gordon does have that Brainstorm. Sacrifice. Probably go basic hunting.
If his mana can afford it, yes. I don't think he has any black cards, so he doesn't have to get something like an Underground Seer or Scrubland here.
And blue with the Delta, white with the Flooded Strand. And so now I think Meddling Mage is going to come down. There's a chance of Manrique Gusari, but, I've asked you this question numerous times, but Meddling Mage coming in, what do you name?
If I'm in Charles's seat,
Yeah.
Lightning Bolt or Pyroblast.
Okay.
They don't overlap. They're very powerful here.
All right. Well, there is Meddling Mage. What are you going to name, Mr. Gordon?
Getting confirmation.
Lightning Bolt. All right, you called it. Brainstorm on a turn here from Wilson. Hit 1, 2, and 3. A lot of. Looks like he's got like 4 red cards in his hand.
Yeah, he's got a Wear Tear, some Red Blast. It looks like
a bolt.
A bunch of bolts. No way to shuffle also, so he's bottlenecked a little bit on some dead cards.
I think he's okay with that. I mean,
no.
Never mind. There's an Arid Mesa. I didn't see that either.
Yeah.
All right, so take a draw. Supreme Verdict, so it's still in. So now he's kind of got a funky mix now.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna go for True Name.
It's hard to, there's a lot of answers that Jacob has here to it. And he's not willing to pull the trigger, which I like. The upside if it resolves is really big, but it's hard to imagine between Daze and Pyroblast that card resolves there.
Now, the fact also that Wilson isn't establishing anything, I mean, he's got to have a lot of reactive threats. He hasn't played a Delver or anything, so his hand is just purely reactive. He's going to sacrifice Arid Mesa, and then end of turn, he's going to use Pyroblast on this. Now, I don't know if he has a Lightning Bolt in his hand or not, but he's opting to use Pyroblast here in this situation.
Well, the Bolt was on, Meddling Mage was on Bolt. So
you're right. I apologize. Thank you. So now his Bolt is free that's in his hand.
Right.
Now he's going to cast a Meddling Mage of his own.
These weird Meddling Mage games with these decks with all these overlapping cards.
This looks like a brainstorming response. It is.
I feel like I'm getting shades of Invasion Block Constructed where people were casting Meddling Mage, naming Meddling Mage.
That was the thing that happened?
All the time.
Wow.
If you were on the play, you just played yours and named theirs.
Okay, sure. You gonna Pyroblast this? Wow,
Yeah.
Aggressive Pyroblasting.
With that fetch land in play, the Brainstorm represents so much value.
He names True Name Nemesis with that Meddling Mage. There's a Manrique Gusari. That'll be used much later down the course of this game, but Wilson does have a Wear Tear, so maybe not.
He's just drawn his own copy of True Name Nemesis.
In for 2 comes Chris Pakula. Brainstorm there. Looks like he's going to start by casting this. So 1, 2, and 3. Fetchland, Brainstorm, and a Tundra are the cards that are drawn.
And the the Meddling Mage being set to True Name Nemesis is oddly kind of good for Jacob, even though he just drew one, because it prevents him from overextending into the Supreme Verdict.
All right, so sacrifice this Flooded Strand. Sacrifice this Marsh Flat, so we'll see what lands he's going to go. It could get like a Swamp and then a non-basic, or he could just get double non-basic since he hasn't seen a Wasteland yet, so we'll see.
Well, I don't know if he can go get the Swamp and another non-basic since he has Jace in his deck. So he has Supreme Verdict in hand. So he needs to have double blue and double white, and probably should get a black source here. So I like this kind of spread from him.
You think he cashes Verdict here 1 for 1?
Well, remember he has his own true name nemesis in his hand too, so he's got he's definitely got a big incentive to get that meddling mage off the table.
Yeah, all right. For me, if I'm Jacob Wilson, that feels like a win.
Oh yeah, for sure, especially since you get to untap now and land your own true name nemesis.
Sacrifice the Scalding Tarn on his upkeep.
Yeah, this has been a big win for Jacob here. And if both players are playing a bunch of meddling mages, that definitely favors Jacob since his deck is much more aggressive and much better at removing opposing meddling mages.
Tundra drawn. I think the green light's on to resolve this true name now. I think he wants to figure out how he wants to tap for it. So now here comes this. He's prepared to fight over it. You see Force of Will and True Name in Gordon's hand. So does he want to do that? He decides he doesn't want to, and Wilson just passes the turn back, does not play the land.
He probably just wants to land his own True Name Necessary if possible. I mean, he already has a piece of equipment in play, and he has more equipment in his deck.
And Wilson can't counter fast enough and force a will back. And Gordon was very fortunate to draw a blue card that turn. So the fact that he draws a Ponder allows him to resolve his own True Name Nemesis. And now the race is on.
Jacob's got, lightning bolts in his deck. He also gets to go first, but Charles has probably more equipment to draw at this stage as well. And a Manriki Gasari.
Yeah, and that Manriki Gasari gets +1/+2.
Yep.
So a little bit of extra damage on that side. Here comes the Delver of Secrets. And now, big draw here for Gordon.
We're going to see who's the top of whose deck is better here.
Is this Jite?
Jeez. That's a really good draw. At the risk of understating things, that's a really good draw.
Oh my goodness. It was out Jite right off the top for Gordon. Comes into play, equips it onto his own True Nemesis. Attacks for 4 because of Manriki Gasari. Trigger. G counter takes care of the Delver of Secrets. And now Wilson needs that wear and tear more than I can put into words.
Yeah.
And he shuffled that away willingly. And now there's a Wasteland, which is a turn too late to stop Jite from coming into play. So Wilson's going to attack here. He's going to put Gordon down to 7. Wasteland's going to take down the scrub lane. He's going to pass the turn back. Build a monster is what Gordon has done here. He attacks for 5, puts Wilson down. Attacks for 6, puts Wilson down to 3. 2 counters on his Jite, so Gordon's at the virtual 11. And now Stoneforge Mystic's going to come into play, which is going to allow Gordon to search for a Sword of Fire and Ice or a Batter Skull.
Yeah, not that big here, but Jacob needs to find a disenchant like pronto.
The problem now,
it's still lethal.
It's still lethal. And Wilson draws his card, he draws a Wasteland, he extends the hand. Charles Gordon wins this match 2-1 over 2-time champion Jacob Wilson, and will be moving on to play against Ian Anderson and Tezzeret Affinity in the next round.
Yeah, you can see Jacob shaking his head there, I think, from the spot where, both players have the True Name Nemesis. I think Jacob is slightly advantaged. He's the one who gets to go first. His lightning bolts are big draws.